Muy buenos días, good morning. Welcome to Cafecito con HACE, being held live here at Walgreens Boots Alliance at the old post office in Chicago. Welcome to all of our Cafecito con HACE guests. For those of you that are new joining us, welcome to the Cafecito con HACE familia. We are happy to have you and encourage you to engage in the chat, network, connect with one another as we engage in today's conversation. My name is Patricia Mota, and I am serving as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. We are a national nonprofit organization headquartered in Chicago, whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact the workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing our community the insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. And the reason that we're here is because we are getting ready to pre-kick off Hispanic Heritage Month that starts off tomorrow, but with a special event that's taking place this afternoon at noon Central Time, 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're trying to capture all the time zones. You still have an opportunity to join us, so you will drop it in the comment section so that you can register. We'll have our leader here that you'll get to know today joining us in this conversation, but also 3 others that you'll get to hear about, talking about demographics, Latinos in the U.S. What should employers be considering when it comes to advancing, engaging Latino talent and the future of work? And so welcome. And with Cafecito con HACE, you know, with our guests, and my special guest here today is Sal Venegas, who's a longtime HACE friend, who is leading as Vice President of Global Talent Management and Employee Experience at Walgreens Boots Alliance. Buenos dias, Sal. How are you today?
Hola a todos.
Hello. So you all know the drill. Those of you who've been joining us, our first question for all of our guests is, how do you prefer your cafecito or your morning beverage of choice?
Well, I drink a coffee every single morning because it's the only thing that gets me up and moving, whether I'm working from home or working from the office like today. And it's usually a black coffee, or if I'm feeling adventurous, I'll go for an Americano black. Yeah, if I need a little extra jolt of energy, it's an Americano, but typically a black coffee.
That's the same for me because I drink so much coffee. If I'm including the sugar, the cream, that'll add up. And I want to make sure I
not super healthy.
And get to taste and enjoy the coffee, right?
Exactly.
And so, Sal, and those of you, we want to hear from you. Put in the chat, how do you prefer your cafecito, your morning beverage of choice? And one thing, Sal, that I love about Cafecito con HACE is we get to feature individuals such as yourself to our audience here that's live on our Facebook, our LinkedIn, YouTube channels, to learn about how is it that you got to your role, your cultural, your professional background. And so please share with us in terms of your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, so whenever I tell my story, I always start at the very beginning, which is how I grew up, and even before how I grew up. So I'm Mexican American. My family is all Mexican. I'm 100% ethnically Mexican. In fact, when you do those ancestry.coms, it is very clear we are from Mexico. A little bit of Spain, a little bit of Italy, but we are from Mexico. My grandmothers actually grew up in the same village in Mexico. They were best friends their whole lives, from almost the day they were born until the day my first grandmother passed 10 or 15 years ago. And so my parents actually grew up together. They became good friends and then eventually married. And, you know, that's an important, La Familia is such an important part of our culture and such an important part of who we are that I think that's an important element of my story. I grew up in Joliet, Illinois, which is about 40 minutes south of where we're sitting here in the old post office. If anybody knows Joliet, if anybody's from the Chicago area, you know it is a very working class town. There were, lots of different communities. There were African-American friends when I was growing up. There were Asian friends, Latino friends, and Caucasian friends, of course. But where I grew up, I didn't have a ton of exposure to careers outside of things like lawyers or doctors or teachers. And so, and to be frank, as I grew up, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me that were doing jobs like the job that I'm in today and other big jobs.
A very big job, mind you.
And so, I always kind of say society told me for a long time that the experiences that I've had, the roles that I've had are not ones that were for me. But I was really lucky because I had a secret weapon. Those secret weapons are my parents, Sal and Maria, both of whom worked really hard and said, you can do whatever you set your mind to and you can accomplish it. And we're going to help you do that. And so They got me into Catholic schools, private schools, which were the best ones in the area at the time, and made sure that I had jobs and I had mentors, that I went to university. And so in doing all of that, they sort of opened my eyes up to the world. And that's an important part of the role that I play today. I have global accountability for learning and development and change management and performance management. I always say the fun stuff in HR kind of sits with my team. But it took a long time for me to kind of figure out that this is the opportunity, and I have those. I can create those for myself, and importantly, I can help create them for other people. And that, one of the things I think we've maybe talked about in the past is the importance of purpose in your life. And I always say my purpose is to help other people achieve their potential. And that's partly because my parents did work so hard to help me achieve my potential. I maybe haven't achieved it yet, but I'm a work in progress and I'm getting there.
Well, hey, I think you've achieved quite a bit in your current role. Our friends tuning in, we have a Mexicano. He said Mexican. Yeah. That's leading such an incredible big HR role for a big company. Right, everybody knows a Walgreens. Everybody has one in the corner of Happy and Healthy.
Every community in America,
and so we all have that connection. But many of us share similar experience in the sense that we are first generation going into a corporate space, or first generation pursuing our professional degrees, and how challenging that could be when you don't have folks in your network or your families that you can experience. And so here it is, you all. we have Sel as an example. If you're seeking to, get into corporate space, or you're in the corporate space, you're looking to get into a more leadership role. What advice would you have to those tuning in terms of advancing and getting into a leadership role?
I love that question. It's a question that when I work with HACE, I often participate in the Emerging Leaders program and other programs, and I always get it. And there are 3 pieces of advice that I always give. The first is never say no. Always look at something that's offered as an opportunity, and even if it's not quite what you thought it would be, take a shot at it and just give it a try. When I graduated university, I wanted to work abroad, and I immediately started applying to jobs in Latin America, just because, of course, I speak Spanish, and I thought this culturally would be an easier move. I couldn't get one. I got a job offer to work in Warsaw, Poland, and I went not speaking the language, not knowing anything about Poland. It was the best experience of my life because it opened my eyes.
But you still went. It wasn't your initial goal.
It wasn't my initial, but the offer was there.
I
took it. The second is always assume positive intent. When you are working with others, it's easy to sort of get into this idea that somebody's out to get me, or they're maybe not doing it for the right reasons. And I had a great mentor at Walgreens who told me, always assume positive intent. You'll sleep better if nothing else. And then the third is find that network and find those mentors. One of the things I'm really grateful about, and I'm so grateful to Walgreens for, is it's given me plenty of opportunity, but plenty of mentorship and sponsorship. And I've had leaders who looked like me and who didn't look like me, including some African-American leaders and others who really said, I'm here to support you and I'm going to help you accomplish your objectives. And what it took was me not just reaching out to them, but them also showing openness. So I would say reach out, ask for that help, and then if you're in a position to give it freely, because it doesn't hurt anyone to do so.
Wonderful tips and advice. I hope you all are taking notes. Sal, I love all of them, right? You talk about always saying yes, right? You had an initial goal in terms of being able to study abroad. You said Latin America. That wasn't what was presented to you. It was another, but you said, all right, this is still an opportunity. I'm going to go forward. What are those times that perhaps you were said no for a certain opportunity, but presented another option? And are you willing to go for it, right? And be open. I think it's about being open to opportunities that presents itself. The assuming positive intent, I think, is especially big these days because there's so much going on in accelerated both good and bad across the world, right? And in our own workspaces. And I think it's so critical that we are always assuming positive intent and making sure for our own well-being that's because you said we can sleep better at night, right? And making sure that we're having those courageous conversations. And the network, leverage asset, right? Absolutely. Right. We always say the leverage asset to meet those mentors, sponsors, supporters to help you continue to advance, individuals like Sal that are here to give you advice, to continue to support and engage. And so we'll have, we're getting ready to wrap up, but we're here in person, live with Cafecito. We don't get to do that often. But we're here for a reason. We're getting ready to kick off a Hispanic Heritage Month here at Walgreens Boots Alliance. So Sal, why are we here? Can you tell our audience a little bit more about what we're doing here this afternoon?
Yeah, so we're going to have a panel discussion on really Hispanics in the workplace, Latinos in the workplace, and the important role that we play, and the importance of Hispanic Heritage Month in elevating our culture and our people and giving us the voice that we have earned in corporate America. I'm really excited to be part of that panel and to speak with the other panelists, and just such an opportunity for us to elevate and really talk about the role that we play and the impact that we can have on corporate America.
Yes, and our other panelists, including Sal, who's hosting us here, are Ana Chepi, who is a Hispanic Senior Advisor out at Edelman. We have Zan Daniels, who heads up Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Alight Solutions. And then we have Silvana Montenegro, who is heading up one of a very incredible department where it's a global department on advancing Hispanic and Latinos at JP Morgan Chase. And so you want to get to hear more from Sal and these individuals. Make sure there's still an opportunity to sign up. This will be live, virtual, offered today at noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And so we'll drop the link in the chat so that make sure that if you haven't had a chance to register, you get to join us and engage with us in this thoughtful conversation, talking about all of the things that Sal just mentioned. It's an incredible opportunity for us not only to really connect with folks that have achieved and excelled so much in their career from Hispanic, Latino backgrounds, but also really what is the call to action? And so we want to hear from you. We want to engage with you, make sure that you join us. And so I think we have time. If there's a question or two, I'm going to pull it up here and see if any there in the chat have any questions. Please feel free to drop them in the chat. As we get ready to wrap up here shortly. I see a lot of excitement, folks that are getting ready to join on board, excited to see you live.
While you're doing that, let me just ask everyone, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I love having connections. I never turn down one, and I never turn down a connection if they ask if they can meet or they can get some career advice. I love doing that and meeting new people. I'm an HR and I'm extrovert, right?
We can see that, and I know that we love engaging with you. All right, Sal. So I think we have folks that are committed to join us networking. They have comments regarding personal branding as well and networking. And again, more comments, and we look forward to seeing you here shortly this afternoon. And so we'll get ready to wrap up. Again, make sure to sign up to join us live at noon. Make sure to connect with Sal Venegas on LinkedIn. As he mentioned, he will accept your connection, and make sure to leverage that invitation that was offered. And Sal, we like to wrap up on a positive note. What is something that gives you inspiration or that you're most hopeful for?
My kids, 100%. I have 2 daughters who are the future. I see how socially aware they are, how much they want to change the world. We also take exchange students in my house with my family, and so I've had a lot of exposure to youth, and they are the thing that keeps me going.
How old are they?
My older is 16, and my younger is 14, and the exchange student with us is also 16.
Wow, teenagers! They are the future, and it is great to see in terms of how aware and how they're really going to committed and lead us to a better world in the future. And so thank you, Sal, for being gracious enough to host us. We look forward to seeing you later today. We look forward to seeing you all join us later today for Hispanic Heritage Month kickoff with HACE at noon Central Time. Y a todos, hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone.
See you soon. Bye-bye.